Hey guys, I think we are live. Had some technical difficulties there. Okay, so I want to talk about the Grady family tonight and the horrible stuff that we saw um, in the Washington videos because this night has not ended. It's been crazy, and there's a lot more complexities we need to discuss. So let's talk about it. We all know about the horrible situation we saw where the Washington Sheriff's Department, two members beat a woman and tased an innocent man. And what did they do to deserve this? Well, let's talk about the facts for a minute. Facts tell us the following. The police come and they don't have a warrant. And Dan and Shatina's daughter lives on the street. And Dan and Shatina said, do you have a warrant? And by asking that question, this led to a woman getting the living hell beat out of her. We saw 3 punches. And we saw a man get tased because he was trying to help his wife. And they went to the Washtenaw County Jail. And I met with them this morning after talking all night to the family, trying to get information, which was like pulling teeth. Hey, Deborah. So the information we get, talk to Dan Grady, and Dan's terrified because he's the caregiver for his 81-year-old mother who has issues that he cares for. And he's scared about losing his job at U of M, where he worked for 13 years, because he did 2 no-call no-shows because he was not allowed to use the telephone while in jail. Now, Shatina, she was just crying, 3 knots on her head. She's already on a medical leave from Ford for hip issues, and it was hard to communicate with her. I did a bond motion for each. I was in touch with Nate Frazier. I was in touch with Matt, Dan's brother. I was in touch with the mother, or doing everything we can. Contacted the prosecutor's office. You name it. Motions are in. We're going to arraign this family. I'm going to argue for a PR bond. And Magistrate Elijah Fink was going to render the proceedings. Now, as I said to Magistrate Fink, she's been a great role model to me. She's somebody I care about, somebody I respect, somebody who's taught me so much. I wasn't going to make a political stance of her courtroom. My motion said what needed to be said. I was going to argue hard for my clients without trying to drag her into it. She didn't cause this. It was 2 Washington sheriff's officers that did this, not her. Before we could get to the arraignment, the prosecutor's office said the case was furthered. Now, I work in a lot of counties. I hadn't heard the term furthered before. I've heard the term adjourned. I've heard the term postponed. I heard the term under review. What further means in Washington is they're not dismissing the case, but they're going to review things in greater detail. And they're going to release the defendants. Not what we want, but it's a win. We get Dan and Shatina home. Dan gets released. And we're happy about that. I mean, that's step 1, right? Now, here's where things got weird. Shatina had a warrant for her in Taylor. And the warrant was for, wait for it, resisting an obstruction. Because she tried to defend herself against police. And they put a warrant out for her. Washtenaw releases the woman, and Taylor, during COVID-19, come to the Washtenaw jail. They bring her to their jail. So now I'm trying to call the Taylor Police Department to get information, because I'll drive to Taylor and argue bond for her there. I try to call the 23rd District Court. Nobody's picking up because it's a skeleton crew during COVID. And they arraign her. Now, here's what you need to know. Washtenaw was ready to release her. And Taylor decided, you know what? We're taking this woman in. And then they force her to have a $2,500 cash bond. $2,500 is what she needs to pay now for her freedom for a warrant she didn't know about, after she had her ass kicked by a sheriff's officer 48 hours prior. And the chief of police in Taylor, John Blair, he said this: they claim they only answer to federal authorities. They don't recognize any local law enforcement whatsoever. When they're driving, they say they're not driving, they are traveling. That's the terminology they use. They just don't recognize local law enforcement as a legitimate entity to enforce any sorts of laws against them. So, what he's saying when he says they, talking about black people, talking about members of Islam, talking about Moors nationals. What are you talking about, Chief? Because you're stopping people for driving while suspended and then threatening them. I'm so sick of the Taylor police. I'm sick of TJ Haverlock. I'm sick of Chief Blair. And I'm sick of cops that abuse their authority. This woman is no threat to anybody. And Chief Blair, I'll tell you what, if you ever had your wife get her ass kicked by a sheriff's officer, and if you tried to defend her and you were tased, we could have a whole different conversation, Chief. And I know you'll be watching this because they all like to search my Facebook like they're going to find something against me. This is bullshit. You could quote me on that. So now she's in Taylor, and they move her to the Wayne County Jail. We find a bondsman, and guess what? Now they're saying there's a warrant for her out of the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. So she's not released. And now she has to be arraigned at Frank Murphy tomorrow. So here's this woman who's on a medical leave for injuries to her hip, who got the living shit kicked out of her on camera, whose husband was tased, who cares for her 81-year-old mother-in-law, and she's rotting in the Wayne County Jail tonight, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. What can I do? Well, I want to be at the arraignment tomorrow. But guess what? It's COVID-19. And Wayne County is not updating the emergency hearings for Zoom. So now what will probably happen is a lawyer who knows nothing about the case will try to argue bond. And this lawyer will not know what happened to her in Washtenaw. They will not know the horror she's had with law enforcement. They're going to look at a sheet and in 5 minutes try to argue the bond factors. I'm going to get up real early and I'm going to call Frank Murphy. But there's a chance nobody's going to pick up because unfortunately, there's a skeleton crew there. And that's COVID. I get that. And because it's COVID, we have to respect the limitations of the court. But you know what, guys? It goes both ways. Why are we locking this woman up during COVID-19 saying that she is abusing police? If you look at the body cam of some of the prior offenses of Shatina, you'll see a white female officer calling her shit Tina and saying how she wants to beat the shit out of Shatina. All of a sudden, these cops are the victims, and we saw what happened in the video. Okay, anybody could see what happened there. So what do we do? Well, to all those protesters out there today, I appreciate your efforts, and I advocate peaceful protest. But I'm going to tell you this, guys. There are other entities in Wayne County that are trying to lock this woman up. There are prosecutors that will not answer emails or phone calls. There's a court staff that's limited. And my hands are tied right now. I've called everybody to try to help on a case I'm not involved in. When I took over this case, it was for the Washtenaw matter. I didn't know about these other issues, and I'm sure as hell going to try to help. But it's very difficult when nobody will answer an email or a phone call. So this poor woman is in limbo right now. For all the protesters that stood by this family, I highly advise you stand by them for these Taylor and Detroit cases. Because as horrible as these videos are, there are people like Chief Blair, like some other cops, that want to see this victim end up in prison. That's where we're at. And they are doing everything in their power to not communicate. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do right now. I can't put a notice of appearance in on this case to be at the arraignment tomorrow because I just can't get in. It won't let me into the system. Nobody will pick up the phone. This woman's in jail. And all this could have been avoided if the Taylor police would have just let her go and we could have walked in, and if you had warrants out, we will self-surrender and argue bond. But they couldn't do that. No. After she was brutalized, they took her to jail. That's what happened, guys. And then John Blair has the nerve to tell the Ann Arbor News how they don't follow the law. Notice something with all the charges with this family. Every one of these charges had to do with a police officer. And every one of them, they are trying to resist an arrest. And it always starts with them asking, why are they being arrested? It's 2020. What the hell are we doing here? So, I want to help these people badly. I've got 92 criminal cases across 11 counties, and it's COVID-19. And my tank is on E right now, and I don't have an answer how to help them by tomorrow. But I am willing to take over the case when I'm allowed to, take over all their cases, and fight. If we don't stand with these people in Detroit, if we don't stand with them in Wayne County, well, we know what's going to happen. It's clear that the Taylor police don't give a shit about their religious beliefs. it's clear that they are just a number on the page. We're seeing racism, we're seeing police brutality, and we're seeing just a lack of human decency. So John Blair, TJ Haverlock, and everybody at the Taylor Police Department, I hope you're happy that during COVID-19, you took a woman who was brutalized to the Wayne County Jail, and you made sure that they did not have a lawyer to argue bond, and you made the bond high enough during COVID-19 that they couldn't post. And then when they found a bondsman to post, the warrant came out of Wayne County for Frank Murphy. Here's what could have happened. Washtenaw releases the family, and they say there's holds. We call the courts. We call the 23rd District. We call Frank Murphy. I bring them in. I put in my appearance. I argue bond, and we try to wrap everything up. But John Blair and the Taylor Police wouldn't allow that to happen. And not only would they not allow it to happen, they would not pick up the phone. I called 22 times begging to talk to anybody. And I'm not their attorney of record on these cases. The only case I am the attorney of record on is Washtenaw. I had no knowledge of these other cases. So now I'm trying to reach out to other courts and other police agencies to explain, number one, she's not in physical condition where she should be in jail. Number two, if there's a case, let's work as a team and let's let the judicial process take hold. So John Blair, when you say they don't care, do you really give a shit? Do you care about justice? Here's a news flash for you, bro. Your job is not to get convictions. Your job is to protect the community. And how the hell are you making the community safer by having this woman in jail right now? How? You got your little 5 minutes of press. You act like you're protecting the community. All you are on a power trip, bro. What happened to this woman and her husband is not even the whole story. Why don't we see what happened in the back of that squad car? You think maybe she was beaten in the back of the squad car? You wonder why Washtenaw not giving up the dash cam yet, though I requested it? Do you know she had 3 knots on her head when I visited her this morning? Do you know she didn't get medical attention? You know her family couldn't even call her? And this woman allegedly resisted your officers. She's in jail. And because of COVID, I can't even fix it right now. And I'm trying every which way. This is nothing more than a cat and mouse game. And if the Taylor Police had an ounce of human decency, this wouldn't have happened. Why didn't you answer my calls? Why didn't you contact me and let me know, hey, we're going to get her arraigned? Who made the recommendation for a $2,500 cash bond? $2,500 cash bond. Are you kidding me? I've had CSC 1s where I've had lower bonds. Was she in any condition to move from Washtenaw to Taylor to the Wayne County Jail? You know, Chief Blair, TJ Haverlock, and the Taylor Police, here, let's break attorney-client privilege. When I met with her today, do you know what Miss Diggins / Mrs. Grady, because you won't show her real name, You just keep changing it to make it more confusing. Why is she Grady in Wayne, but Diggins in Washtenaw? No funny business going on there, right, guys? She was crying, and she said to me, I want you to protect me. Please do what you can, but I'm terrified of going back to Taylor. Because if I go back to Taylor, they will hurt me and maybe kill me this time. That's what she said. And every one of her fears you brought to light. Just so you're curious, Chief, she's on medications for anxiety, depression, and PTSD. How do you think she's doing tonight in the Wayne County Jail, bro? How's your night going, Chief? You losing sleep over this? Or do you not give a shit? I want you guys to think about what the Taylor police did today. I don't have the answers right now. I am completely worn out at the moment. And I don't know how to fix this tonight. I'm hoping I'm able to fix it. But I'm going to tell you, Taylor Police, Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, if Wayne County is going to mistreat this woman, we need to stand unified. And when I say stand unified, I'm not advocating violence. I don't want you guys to be violent. What I want you to do is stand united like you did today. I want you to let the judge and the prosecutor's office and the police officers know that you stand united to protect this woman. Hasn't she been through enough? Okay. I've got nothing left to say right now. Keep them in your prayers and thoughts. And let's fight for a good outcome here. Have a good night, guys.